Hello everyone, my name is Acapella and today I'm bringing you guys another map guide for Ana. Today we're going to be looking at Oasis, starting with City Center. Oasis is one of my dreaded maps for playing Ana on, but that's why I'm here to help you guys out, help you figure out how to play it. So we'll go ahead and get things rolling here. But if you're watching this on YouTube, I am streaming this. I don't have like a set streaming schedule right now, but I'm going to try and maybe get one in the future, and I'll just start like maybe coaching for like 2 hours or something like that, do VOD reviews, map guides, whatever. Yeah, we'll see what I decide to do. I'm going to try and keep this short because I only have I don't have a ton of time before we have scrims going. But so first off, we have City Center, we have standard versus snipers. First fight, usually teams like to fight either here or on point. Point isn't as common, so it's usually this top left area right here. If your team decides to go top left here, standard positioning, just gonna be down here on these stairs. So you have this crossfire, but you need to, if you're playing here, you gotta make sure you're communicating to your team, telling them when you can't see them. Because tank players like to ignore where their Ana's playing and drop down to this area down here where you can't hit them. So just make sure you're talking to your team, like, hey, I'm playing low ground, I can't see you if you go behind. If your team is not listening to you, then you can go ahead and follow them down here underneath here, and then maybe look to go onto the jump pad here. If your team wins up the fight, though, you can definitely take up this high ground. So after first fight, if you lose the map, it's going to be pretty much the same thing. You'd be looking to either take these stairs or left side if your team isn't listening. So yeah, generally these same two spots are going to be huge, especially because of this health pack down here. If you win the fight, though, you'll be looking to hold this high ground up here or here, unless they're running dive. And at that point, you want to like play down here or once again back here. These other positions kind of leave you safe from getting dove, but high ground gives you the most. Gives you the biggest view over the map. It gives you the most influence, so long as you're going to be safe from the enemy team. The running snipers, extra emphasis on this spot down here. This cover is absolutely huge for you. It's going to be very hard for the enemy team to snipe you. If you know that the sniper, actually, let's erase this. If you know that the enemy snipers are going to be top left, let's get that in black. Actually, if you know the snipers are taking a spot up here, then you're going to be wanting to take a spot on the area on the left here as your team looks to push point and drag them down. Otherwise, if you win the fight, once again, you're going to be up top here, but looking to play a little bit safe as well. Just so you make sure you don't get your head taken off from a sniper that's looking to take an angle from here or here. Obviously, if they do take this angle and you know you're not going to be safe for very long, go ahead and drop down to point so you can survive a little bit longer. Down to here. So that's City Center. We'll get one last look and then we'll head on to the next one here. Here we go. Up next, we have Gardens. Gardens is a bit of a weird one, as there are tons and tons of different places to play at depending on what your team is wanting to do, depending on where your team wants to hold at. Sorry, I've been talking a lot. So we'll kind of get going here with the standard once again. First fight generally going to be either happening on this left side near the health pack, here, or on point somewhere. Generally, I'll put 1x for point, but it's all around point pretty much. Also, some organized teams like to go top right here, but this doesn't happen very often in ranked and stuff. So I'll still mention it just in case you do run into that. So, but generally, we're going to see this health pack fight is going to be the main one, with a fight potentially transitioning to point if the fight doesn't end right away. So for this first area, generally going to be playing around this little middle block area here, so you have that extra cover. And then as the fight progresses, you can look to push up to this cover here, and then with another little swing over to these little stairs, right, and play here as the fight progresses on point. If your team decides to right here, you can look to either play here on these stairs, in this window, or up in this doorway. If you lose the fight, it's generally going to be the same thing. Whichever direction your team tries to push through, that's going to be the direction that you follow and play in position wise. If your team wins the fight, though, there's a couple things you can do. You can look to either take this high ground here, as your team might be fighting at the doorway here. I'll mark it with a yellow. This is where your team would want to be holding them generally, here or here. So if that's happening, you can hold this high ground because you have a view of your team. But if you know your team is going to be aggressive and they want to push in, then you may want to look to be playing on these stairs so you can potentially push in with your team if they chase. And then if they're fighting in here, you'll either be looking to play here or on these stairs with potentially pushing in if your team goes aggressive. So facing snipers, pretty much going to be the same thing, just do not play this high ground at all, ever. This map is not very known for snipers, but if you do play on this high ground, I can guarantee you're going to get headshot and you're going to be very, very sad. So do not play up there. Wouldn't playing snipers be a throw unless it's hard meta. Yeah, on Oasis, I'm just covering it just to kind of give like the most meta-proof guide possible, because obviously like the current meta right now is Reaper Sombra. I'm not going to make a guide for how to play a map versus Reaper Sombra because this may not be meta for forever, especially with Overwatch 2 coming in the next year or so, or in the next couple months, whatever. So I'm going to kind of try and give as much of a meta-proof guide as I possibly can, so you could watch this however long into the future and be like, oh, it's still useful, right? So snipers, just do not play up top here, and this is for comp as well. So there could be a Widow one-trick player on the enemy team that you may need to be careful of. So generally snipers, once again, extra emphasis on these corners here. Play a little bit further back when you first come in here, just for that extra cover. Then when your team pushes up once again on these stairs here, I'll just kind of go over it again. And just to be careful, if you do get flanked, you can look to rotate onto point here with your team. And then when your team is pushing, once again, playing at this corner so you have that extra bit of cover, or even underneath here, right by this middle structure. There's like a pillar there that leads to the high ground, or that's like holds up the high ground, and you can play around that just to be careful as snipers. Main areas they're going to be looking at, they're going to be taking kind of this angle, or maybe like one of these angles, like even in here. So just be mindful of those black X's. Those are the line of sights that they can take, and you want to be wary of them. So just making sure you know where the enemy snipers are at all times will keep you safe, so you don't get your head taken off. So that's going to be gardens. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, and we are on to our last map here, which is going to be University. Once again, not a very sniper heavy map, but we'll cover that again just to be sure. And we will start with standard once again. So your team generally going to be pushing through either one of these doors here. I don't want this to stay on screen though. So one of those two doors is where they're going to be pushing from. A fight 100% of the time going to be on point or on this right side here, or just here, I guess, for the whole point. Teams sometimes will go top left, but that is so rare that I'm literally not even going to cover it because of how rarely that happens. So yeah, generally whichever side your team comes through, this is where you kind of be coming from. So starting on these stairs, and as your team pushes in, you rotate up to this little thing here. I believe it's like a post or something, and then look to rotate up to this wall that's right here. And you're going to be playing around here perpetually. That's these two spots right here are your bread and butter for this map, and unless your team is pushing up aggressively into their spawn, you should not be moving out of these positions. These are so important. The only other spots I can maybe say are playing on this right side. I forgot to mention the right side as well. Playing generally just on these stairs if you're on the fight here. These two are your bread and butter because they have so much cover and it's so hard to get to you. But another position you can take after you've already claimed point you know, if your team wins the fight and then, you know, they're looking to recontest, you can also maybe hold on to this right side because you have this health pack over here. But just to keep in mind that it is very close to the enemy team and they can push you very easily, right? So even though you have a health pack that's, you know, that's only however much HP, and it's not going to keep you alive for very long. Well, it's like you're paid to be an editor, yeah. So yeah, generally this, I'm gonna change this, make this like super. We're gonna make it a different color like I did with the last one. We're gonna make it orange. This is your bread and butter right here. This is where you're going to want to play throughout the entire game. It gives you a ton of cover to play around with this sign, this wall, as well as being able to come back around these stairs and around the corner. And it's super important to control this, as you can see the entire point at all times. If you can't, you just switch sides, you know, to the left or the right here. So yeah, if your team does decide to push up, you know, to the choke here, you can look to hold here, or sorry, you know, if they're looking to hold up to there, you can potentially push up to here or here, but you do not want to stay here very long. Like as soon as the enemy team starts pushing back, immediately just rotate back. And honestly, with snipers, it's literally just the same thing, with more of an emphasis on this one, as snipers tend to like to take this top left area here and here. So obviously, if you're playing the right side, it's not going to be super safe. But if you see that the said snipers are, you know, taking an angle here or on this right side, it may be safer for you to rotate over to the right side as well, so you're out of their LOS. So yeah, that's pretty much going to cover it for university as well. I think I got pretty much everything, all the different ways. You know, you can play this map specifically. Once again, I absolutely dread playing on this map as Ana, so it's, you know, it's good to have this position in your minds. So yeah, that's gonna be it from me. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Give it a like, subscribe, you know, the whole shtick. Yeah, and I will see you guys later. Have a good one.